So we've been talking about how Abraham traveling through the land of Israel, and then boom, here he is in Israel, and he's tested pretty much right away with a big test. And we're going to dive into that. We're on page 79 and passage or pasuk 10. So, Mary, can you read 10?
Sure. In that same year, there was a famine in the land of Canaan. God wanted to see if Abram would complain about having to leave the land after having exerted so much effort to reach it in the first place, and after God had promised it to him. Abram did not complain. He went down to Egypt to sojourn there for a time, since the famine in the land of Canaan had grown severe. Lot accompanied Abram and Sarah. Abram was always
Okay, great. Wait, sorry.
Okay. That's all right.
Perfect. So here you see, he finally, he leaves his father's house. He's courageous enough, has enough faith. He's in the land of Israel, checking it all out. And then, before he could even enjoy, the famine gets so bad, he already has to leave Israel and go to Egypt. What do you think is going on? Like, what would be the benefit in that?
Trust.
Of what? I mean, of leaving Israel?
Yeah, like here, hi Khani, welcome. Like, why here, Abraham leaves his parents' home, his father's house. He travels to Israel. He's checking out Israel. And then there's a massive famine, and he can't even stay in Israel. He has to now go down to Egypt.
So it seems like Avram is still testing. I mean, God is still testing Avram.
Yes.
To see if he will follow the plan. I mean, it's a journey, and the journey has had lots of stops and starts. And now, will Abram be compliant and take this trip down to Egypt? Oops.
Exactly. So there's three reasons why this is happening, and then we'll connect it to our own lives. That first of all, Hashem is testing Abraham again and again and again, because as we know, Abraham is the forefather of the Jewish people, right? And he is literally the same way, like on a physical level. If there's a forest that was never paved, and a group of people come and say, we want to make a new path through this forest, and they take bulldozers and equipment and they literally pave a path through the forest that now, for thousands of years afterwards, people can go through this forest. There has to be these first trailblazers who pave the path. So Abraham is literally manifesting or experiencing like the spiritual journey of the ups and the downs, and we have the highs and the lows and the setbacks and everything. And Hashem is like creating this journey for him of like a real life journey, but packed in a short period, to be able to trailblaze strength and hope and faith and that foundation, because he's our spiritual forefather. And whatever he did, he gave us that ability to have that inner strength inside of us. So the first one is, you're finally in the land of Israel, and God sends you to a land and there's no food. Are you going to still trust in this God? And so it's to deepen his faith. The second one is that we're going to see in a few pasukim we're going to read, is that he actually ends up getting a lot of wealth in the land of Egypt. Like, he goes, and we're going to read through that story today, but Pharaoh ends up giving him a lot of like animals and a lot of wealth. And so one of the reasons why Hashem actually sends, he does it through a test, so that at the same time he can deepen his faith. But one of the reasons he needs to go down to Egypt is to acquire this mass amount of wealth and riches, so that he could go back into Israel and have all the resources he needs to be successful in his mission. Because part of his mission is he's going to go back to Israel, and he's going to have this hospitable tent where people can come in at any point and, you know, eat and drink and have this oasis of spirituality in the desert. And he needs to have an abundance of meat and food in order that, and, you know, he doesn't charge them. He says, no, 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 don't pay me. Just thank God, because he wants to be like this lamplighter and to teach people about God. So he needs these resources. So even though it seems like a setback and, you know, like, why is God testing him? Actually, had to go down to acquire something, like really all the resources he needs. And the third reason why God is testing him and why he has to go to Egypt, again, it seems like he really is only going because there's a famine, and Egypt doesn't have the famine, and Egypt has the food. But the reason is because since Abraham is in such a high level spiritually, and Egypt is such a low level, the Egypt was known to be like the lowest level in terms of like idol worship and in terms of total disconnect from spirituality and from values. And so one of the reasons why God wanted Abraham to go is his energy, because he was on such a high level, had the ability to stay who he was without being without being affected by Egypt. But actually his energy can make an impact on the lowliness of Egypt and spiritually awaken them on some level and bring, like, you know, not even by what he said, not even by what, just by who he was, brought elevation to the people in Egypt. Now, so those are the three reasons why Hashem sent Avram. Now, all of these three things is part of our own life. So I want to see if you guys can make the connection. But before that, I'll say, just like Abraham was in Israel and he was finally settling down and enjoying the land and, you know, scouting it out, all of a sudden, you know, this massive test comes. There's no food. He has to go down to Egypt. This represents our own spiritual journey, our own life.
Oops,
where
you broke up.
What did you hear last?
I missed.
Yeah. What did you hear last?
I don't know. Did you miss it too?
So you were saying a spiritual journey and then it stopped.
Spiritual.
Okay. So this Abraham live in Israel and then going to Egypt represents our own spiritual journey, where when we're in Israel, it represents when we have clarity, we feel really connected, we feel really good about ourselves, we feel in line with our soul, we're feeling really inspired, we're feeling really good. But then a lot of times, you know, when we're in that place, we feel like, oh, we've arrived, you know, like everything's good, we figured our life out, no more problems, like we're in this, you know, it's all good. And then no matter what, like no matter how many times we reach these places, somehow it creeps up on us and we have these times that we fall back into Egypt. And Egypt represents back to restriction, back to confusion, back to struggling again, back to like lack of clarity and who am I and what's my life about, and so even feelings of worthlessness. It's like this up and down and this up and down, this up and down. So Israel represents the clarity and feeling really clear about ourselves and connected. And Egypt represents Mitzrayim in Hebrew. Egypt is Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means constriction. And we're back to like, wait, where am I? I can't believe I'm back here again. And the same reason why Abraham had to go into Egypt, because it tested his faith. He acquired tons of wealth for his ultimate, mission in his life, and also to elevate the people in Egypt. These three reasons apply to us why we fall back into old places and to old places of constriction and struggles. And it's not because there's something wrong with us. It's not because we failed. It's not because, you know, we're not on a high enough level or we didn't do enough work. It's part of the journey. It's part of the process. You know, Hashem wanted Avram to go back to Egypt. For some reason, part of the spiritual journey is we fall back. But there's a reason to it. And before I say, maybe you guys can think, what are the connections to what I said about Abraham and to us? Any ideas?
Well, I was thinking about, I guess last week we talked about the fact that that Abram was just going on he was on a journey, and we're always on a journey in our own life. And I guess what I was thinking was that our journey has ups and downs, just as his did. and we have to somehow keep the faith and know that God is going to be with us and throughout our journey, wherever it is, and whether there are ups or downs, which there'll always be both, but that God will be beside us.
Exactly. That's beautiful. Exactly. Any other thoughts? Connie, you want to share anything? Or Dina? Or Julie? Hi, Julie. Okay, so I'll jump in. So like exactly what you said, Mary. And just to add to that, these three things. So one was Avram was tested to test his faith and to expand his faith. Like, he was able to have faith up to this point, but when he had to go down to Egypt, he had to work and go deeper inside himself to still be able to trust God, even though God sent him to a place that now had a famine. The same thing with us. When we have a setback and we're in a place of constriction again and struggling, it's not actually a setback. It's actually an opportunity for more growth. It's an opportunity to go deeper, because every time we struggle again, instead of just like, oh, it's all good, we're fine, all of a sudden we're in pain again. And then we have to go deeper inside of ourselves and to say, what is coming up for me, and what can I learn from this, and why am I experiencing this? And like, we could go back into a place of a victim mode and feel so upset and disconnect, or we can deepen and strengthen ourselves and learn more lessons and dig deeper into even deeper levels of our soul for strength and for clarity and for hope. And so the same way it was a test of faith for Abraham, every time we have a setback, it's really not a setback. It's an opportunity to deepen our faith and get to know deeper places inside of ourselves, and to bring God and faith into deeper places inside of us that we've never journeyed until then. So sometimes a setback feels like, oh, I've been here before, I can't believe I'm here again. But no, it's familiar, but it's on a higher level and a place that we haven't reached yet. So deepens our strength. We dig in our well of like inner clarity and inner hope and in our soul even more than we ever did before. Number two, Avram had to go there to acquire a mass amount of wealth in order to fulfill his mission. What happens is that when we are struggling again and we have to go deeper inside of ourselves for that inner strength and for hope, and like to learn the lessons of why we're struggling again and to heal some parts in ourselves, what happens is that we acquire wealth. What does that mean? We acquire wisdom. Every time we have a setback and we're struggling again and we're trying to work it out and we're trying to find God in this dark place and we're trying to learn the lessons, we discover more wisdom than we ever had before, and understand things in a new way and perceive things in a new way, and build new tools and more clarity and more awareness. And then the third thing was Abraham went to elevate Egypt because he was on such a high level. His energy was able to bring positivity to the lowness of Egypt. Once we do the work and we're struggling, and then we go deeper inside of our faith, and then we acquire more wisdom. The third thing is, like Abraham, just by who we are, because energetically we've shifted, we've grown, we've acquired more wisdom. We understand things that we never understood before. We go deeper. We have more self-value and self-love and worthiness, and able to, really be more connected. Automatically, we're on a higher level after that. And energetically, we can inspire even more people because we've done deep soul work, which elevates ourselves. We don't even have to say anything. Automatically, when we elevate ourselves, we're helping people around us grow and be inspired just by becoming a better person and a more soulful person and a more inspired person. Does that make sense? Okay. Connie, you want to add anything to that? Any thoughts? I don't know if you're there. Okay.
I'm here, but you're doing a great job.
Okay.
You don't even. Thank you, though.
Well, I don't know. Okay, if you want to say anything.
I just want to say that it's true. I really see that in my life, and I think that it's really helpful to realize that, because for me, I think that I used to be, I am really hard on myself, and when I struggle with something, I used to be like, I can't believe I'm here again. I thought I was past this. And yeah, like recognizing that it's just a deeper level of healing each time helps to know that it's actually right. As long, even though it feels like it's the same thing, it's not. And it's like, I just see how, I don't know why it has to be this way. It's annoying, but I see how whenever I see that every time I'm back to a familiar place, that when I come out of it, I'm a different person. And so yeah, I mean, it gets easier in a way each time to be, even shockingly, to start to feel grateful for these things, because it's like, I know that it's going to lead me to even more healing and even more what I want. And so, yeah, I just want to, like, I relate to that a lot.
Yeah, I know you do. Thank you. Dina, do you want to share anything? No.
No, I think you said it all.
Okay.
I don't have any input.
Okay. So we can't see you anymore, Dina. Oh, there you are. So lovely to see you.
I have so many left hands, you know, like just to keep pressing things. I'm telling you, technology is not my thing. Thank God I have Ralph and IT.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I will tell you the same thing. I'm on the same. Yes. Okay. Well, Dina, how about please, if you could read the Pasuk 11 for us.
Abram was always careful not to indulge himself in his wife's beauty. But when they were wading through a stream, he saw her reflection in the water and was reminded how attractive she was. Their extensive travels have not mirrored her beauty in the least. So as they approached Egypt, he said to his wife, Sarah, look, I know you to be a woman of beautiful and fair facial complexion. Wait, I'm going the wrong way. That's it. Oh, that's it, right?
Maybe actually read the next one also, please.
Complexion. The Egyptians
12.
are not used to The Egyptians are not used to beholding such beauty. Their women are all swarthy, and you are fair-skinned. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, "This is his wife," and they will kill me, since they will not expect me to surrender you to them and allow you to leave.
Okay. This is interesting, right?
Right.
Lots of interesting things. Just I know Khani and Julie, I don't think have the words with them. So just to say, like, Avram was always careful not to indulge himself in his wife's beauty, but then he notices it all of a sudden, right? Which is interesting. What do you think, guys, thinking about that?
He must have so in a sense that because he probably always saw her soul is the beautiful one, the package, which is, the outside, was not as important to him, but he always knew that, if she has the inner beauty, she must have the outer beauty, but to him it was probably less of an aspect, right? But then to other people that don't see inside, to them this is everything. The complexion, the how fair she looks, yeah.
Exactly.
And also he says that, because they've been traveling so much, it had not mirrored her beauty. So we could also say, it could apply to both, right? The inner or the outer beauty. She's still, spiritually stronger and getting stronger. Because sometimes people get wary of travels and not having a constant homestead in a sense, right? So, but she's both. It didn't affect her because I feel like when you're in a happy place, right? You, like, first of all, you don't age as other people do, and that's a known fact. But also, it doesn't really matter if you do, in that sense. Like, you're not feeling like you've lost a lot of yourself, because what's inside is more important than all this, wrinkles or gray hair, or I don't know, no hair, no teeth, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's good.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Everything you said is beautiful, and it's so true. So my first reaction was like, Avram was always careful not to indulge himself in his wife's beauty. I'm like, what? He didn't he was too spiritual to look at her. Is that ideal? But then then taking a deeper look, I'm like, wow, no, it's not that he didn't allow him. He was careful not to indulge in her beauty. He was careful not to look at her as a body, as an it.
Right.
And it was like, wow, it was like, of course he knew that she was beautiful, but he refused to lower himself to the level where he's like, she was beautiful. The Torah says quite a few times that Sarah was beautiful. So she was obviously very beautiful. But he was careful to say, this is my wife. This is a person. She is a soul. You know, I love her for who she is, and to not get caught up in her external beauty and getting caught up in like, oh, look at my beautiful wife, and, you know, getting excited about her body in the sense of like that she's just a body. So, and that's just really important, you know, like for us to know also, it's like to look at other people and not evaluate them by their looks or their externalities. And especially also for ourselves, you know, in a society where it's all about externalities and like how we look and what size we are and all of that. It's like, that's not true beauty. You know, that's just the shell. Like true beauty is really being happy inside and your soul emanating, coming out of you. And that's the everlasting beauty. And that's what really matters. But it's interesting. He says, as he gets closer to Egypt, he starts noticing her beauty. And I find that very interesting. I want to explain that first, that it's all of a sudden he notices her in the eyes of the Egyptians. And he notices like, oh, right, your external body, your body is beautiful. And he sees how the Egyptians are going to look at her. And what's interesting is actually that Kabbalah says this, that even though Avram was on such a high level, he wasn't influenced by the Egyptians. Like he never lost his faith, but energetically, because the energetic, like the vibration of the Egyptians was on such a low level, and all they cared about was externalities and, you know, using women's bodies for their own satisfaction and everything like that. Energetically, it affected him a little bit, that he started seeing Sarah from that energetic place, from like a lower place. And it's interesting. Like when I read that, I was like, wow, like even if Abraham energetically, by him being in a lower level environment, that he was able to like see things differently, like how much so also for us, like we could be so hard on ourselves, you know, that like we're feeling maybe clear about something, or we're feeling really happy or feeling good, and then we're in an environment where people are just not there energetically, like, you know, maybe they have like very toxic energy, or they're very negative, or they're just not worked out, you know, emotionally or in healthy. And then I know for me, like I get very affected when I'm with around certain people, and I start feeling like more low or more just disconnected. And I started recognizing that and really trying to work on that, to be like, wow, you know, when I was in my house this morning, I was feeling really good. I was feeling really happy. And then I went and hung out with these people, and I came back and I'm in such a low place, and I'm feeling moody and edgy. And I'm starting to notice, like, it's not mine. Like to start realizing I'm not in a bad mood. I was like, I picked up this negative energy, and like, what do I need to do to release that and to put it back on them, and to get myself back into a healthy, happy, wholesome place. And sometimes it takes a little work, you know, to meditate or listen to positive music, or to like, each person has, you know, their own thing. Like for me, there's certain things that I do to help me get back to my energy and release other people's energy. But it's so helpful to know, like, so many times, you know, we don't even, we pick up other people's energies, and then we think that it's ours. And it's so healthy and helpful and freeing to know that a lot of times when we're in environments, we just pick up other people's stuff, and then we don't need to own that. Does that make sense?
Also, it's
Yeah.
also it's interesting you mentioned that, but I have some people I in my life where they're very judgmental at times and negative. And if I hang out with them, I start noticing right away that I become the same. And what I've learned to do is just say, hey, I'm not interested in talking about this. It doesn't belong to me. Like it's not mine. And I had to cut off some, and it's on my side of the family. There's some people like that, and I just had to cut them off. And they were like they didn't look respectful at all, because you know they're relatives, right? So we had to do that. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because all of a sudden you act like them, you say things like them, even though you were not thinking that in the morning, or you're like, why am I doing this again?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's totally,
And
totally.
it's a lifelong process, and recognizing, I think that the fact that it says it in the Torah here with Abraham to show, like, you know what, like, to not beat ourselves up about it, and to be like, this is so human that even Abraham on such a high level saw Sarah from the more lower level perspective. And he had to do the work again, probably, to be like, oh, I see this from the Egyptian perspective, but like, let me come back to my own truth. And, actually something that just came to me right now that I didn't think about before is that Abraham, even there was purpose, even that he was like a little bit affected and was able to like see Sarah from a lower level, because he saw from the Egyptian perspective, he was able to make a plan, because he understood, we're going to read the next passage, that he understood, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. And the Egyptians have no value system, and they they think that they own any woman that's beautiful. And what if someone rapes her? And what if they kidnap her? And what if they steal her? And it was through seeing her, and from the eyes of the Egyptians, he was able to make a plan and be proactive. So I was just thinking, for us, a lot of times when we energetically pick up other people's energy, or we feel like the sadness of someone else, or the judgmentalness. Thank you. We could feel like it could feel very negative for us, but even that, there's purpose in that, because to understand where people are coming from, or have compassion, or sometimes, like for me, when I pick up other people's low energy, it helps me strengthen my resolve to keep this spiritual journey going, because sometimes it's really hard to like keep doing it and keep working on myself and keep evolving and keep trusting God. And when I'm around people who are in that negative space, sometimes it reminds me, I'm like being like proactive, and I'm like, wow, this is why I'm doing this work. I don't want to be there. This is what it's like it's almost a gift to see it and experience it, to keep my resolve strong and my commitment to keep growing, because it feels so much better, even though it's hard work. But the thing is like, Khani, did you want to say something?
Yeah, but I'll wait till you're done.
Okay. So just one more thing that I was going to say is that when we feel ourselves feeling that energy, like, and we're acting like the other people, not to beat ourselves up about it, but to be like, what do I need space to take to come back to my own light, to my own truth? And it's not our job to control other people or to even influence them in any way, but influence them by just not acting that way and trying to like not be that way and just being ourselves. Anyways, Khani, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think it was Dina right before who was sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say, I so relate to that. It actually just happened to me in my life that last week, as Nechama knows about. This girl, my really good friend, basically was really angry about something and was like yelling at me. And in that moment, I stayed in the conversation, and I was, standing up for myself and like explaining myself, and it felt really bad. And I learned from it that it's not like, if somebody's really angry and like furious at what I believe or the things I'm saying, it's not about sitting there trying to get them to not be angry. It's about recognizing my worth, that I deserve to be spoken to kindly no matter what, and to exit the conversation next time and say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable being spoken to like this, so I'm going to go and let's talk about something else. And, I was actually really mad at her because I said I don't feel comfortable to talk about it, and she pushed me to talk about it. But I realized too, like, that's mine too, because it doesn't matter how much someone pushes me or tries to make me feel bad or like I have to talk about something. If they feel disappointed or hurt or even angry that I won't engage, as a people pleaser, that's something that I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make them upset. So how do I people please? But what I realized is that when I people please, I try to engage because I don't want the other person to be upset. Not only am I hurting myself, but I ended up I don't help the other person's anger. I just fuel their anger when I join them in their anger. And now there's an even bigger issue. And so I realized I learned a few things from this interaction. Number one, if I have a boundary that I only engage with kindness and topics that are respectful, like for example, if someone, like it was about politics, like if someone else is actually interested and coming out of a place of curiosity, I'm open to having a conversation. But if somebody's coming from a place of I'm right, you're wrong, there's no point in me having a conversation, because that's not a healthy conversation that I like to engage in. And so I realized that, you know, if the other person is upset or hurt or angry, that I won't discuss it. Like, I need to turn to God and be like, you know, like, I'm not in charge of this person's anger or frustration or negativity. Like, that's hers to take care of. And I have a really hard time at that, but it's an opportunity for the future for me to learn, like, that's not mine to take care of. And I just have to take care of myself. And number two, I realized what I shared before, that not to try to get the other person to validate me or see my point of view, but to validate myself and exit the conversation and take care of my triggers and my issues, and not engage at all in the vibration, because otherwise, like I shared, it just creates a bigger issue, and everything almost turns around to be my fault and look like I'm the bad one, when in reality, actually, like, I'm being mistreated here. You know, I don't deserve to be yelled at. So I don't know, but it just was a very big lesson for me. So it's really, I guess, validation to hear this. Yeah.
And it's interesting because everything you're saying is both lessons that we just said, is like, in a certain way, like dealing with that friend and all the tension and pain that it brought up was like going back into Egypt, into constriction and pain and confusion. And then like all these lessons that you learned, and like picking up that vibration, but knowing what's not yours and what's not yours. And like that wealth, that earning that wealth, like Abraham's going to get all this wealth from Egypt. Like you came out with all this wisdom and more clarity and more strength, which is amazing. Okay. So let's talk about 12. Dina, you already read it, that it says the Egyptians are not used to beholding such beauty. Their women are all swarthy and you are fair-skinned. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife, and they will kill me. Because they're going to want to take you and steal you, and they're not going to keep me alive. So, you know, so this is, I want to mention what makes her so much more beautiful than the Egyptian woman. Like, is it possible that in the whole Egypt that Sarah is like that much more beautiful? And Dina, what you were saying before, is what I want to say is that what makes her more beautiful is her soul. It's like what they're used to, the Egyptians seeing are like these models, you know, like you look up in a magazine and you see these models and they have that perfect size zero body and like tan skin, and but like you look at their eyes and they're completely vacant, you know. Like a lot of times I look at models and I want to give them a hug. They look so sad and like and vacant, and I'm like, I'm so sorry that like you feel like your worth is and malnourished.
And malnourished. I'm sorry.
Yes, exactly.
My Jewish soul feels very like they need some chicken soup or something.
Exactly. So it's like they're just bodies, and they think that that's their worth, and it's so sad. And in Egypt, because the level was so low, and the men treated the woman, it's like you're just objects to be objectified, to be raped, to be used to our own advantage. And the women didn't know that they had any more worth, so that was the standard that they were in. Like, look, I'm more beautiful, and competing to be more beautiful than the next, and that's all it was. But Sarah was more soul than body. She was so special. And actually, I want to say in this week's Torah portion, it's called Chaya Sarah this week. It's called Chaya Sarah, the death of Sarah. Oh, sorry, it's called the life of Sarah, but it's actually all about her death. And the reason why it's called the life of Sarah is because it's all about her legacy. This week's Torah portion is talking about how even though she died, look at all the things that she's left, and her daughter-in-law follows in her pattern, and all these things that she's made an impact through her life. But one of the things it says is that the first passage, it says, the first pasuk in this week's Torah portion, it says that Sarah lived 100 years and 20 years and 7 years, which is 127 years. But why would it say 100 years, 20 years, 7 years? That's a bit of an odd way describing, And the reason the Torah says, the explanation is because she died at 127 years, but she in all her 127 years, she was as youthful as a 20-year-old in the sense of like pure and innocent, but just like a 20-year-old. And in those days, I guess they weren't legally responsible or obligated for like mitzvot or values or responsibility until 20. Like nowadays, as a Jewish people, we start at 12 and 13, bar and bat mitzvah. But in those days, they weren't legally obligated till 20. So she, till 127, she was like as pure and innocent, and her only full of good deeds, like didn't make any, like was 100% pure. And it says that she was as beautiful as a 7-year-old her whole life. And that's why it says 120 and 7. And it's like, what does it mean as beautiful as a 7-year-old? And it says that this was a beauty of her soul, because the soul, like Dina was saying, and the soul never ages. And like you could be 70, 80, 90 and feel youthful and feel beautiful, because if you feel like you're still here for something powerful and you're connected to God, and you feel like beautiful inside because you feel whole and you feel worthful and you feel loved and you feel like you're making impact and you're connecting to people in a beautiful, meaningful way, that joy emanates out of you, and you're beautiful no matter what your body is saying or doing, and you feel youthful. And not only that, you actually physically look more beautiful when you're in line with your soul, because like there's a certain glitter to your eye and there's a certain softness to your face. And I want to connect this to, it's not the story of Purim, but just to like connect dots, in the story of Purim, where Esther was chosen to be the queen against all odds, that, King it was Achashverosh. He was looking for a wife, and all the women in Shushan in Persia, were getting all dressed up and putting on tons of makeup and perfume and jewelry and gowns and everything. He was like, no, 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 because it was like that vacancy, like the woman in Egypt. It was like, you're just a body. Like, and then Esther came in and was like, didn't put on any makeup, tried to make herself as ugly as possible, wore like the simplest dress because she was desperate not to be chosen. She didn't want to be chosen. And he like couldn't stop looking at her, and he's like, you're beautiful, I want you. And what did he see? What was that beauty? He saw her soul. It was like, there's something different about her, there's something unique. I'm attracted to you're unique. And so Sarah, so this is what really made Sarah so beautiful, that she was more soul than body. Like her body was just a vessel for expressing her soul, expressing her beauty, expressing her light.
But Nahama, you're saying that the Egyptians could see that. I mean, they could see her soul. They could look at her and see that difference in her eyes and the way she presented herself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? You can actually see that.
You can see that. Yeah, you can feel that, and you could see it and you could feel it. And actually, that's why, something that like I've been talking about a lot and working on a lot is like, a lot of us, it's because like the world has been so like doing oriented, we can translate that in so many ways, even like trying to make a difference or impact people or spread light or spread goodness. Like as you get inspired, it's like you want to spread the light, you want to help people. You could still translate the old way of like, I need to help people, I need to tell people, I need to share. But like the truth is that it's like you just keep working on your soul and being beautiful inside and loving yourself and feeling beautiful and emanating goodness and emanating kindness, and your light will be attractive to people, even people on a totally different energetic level, vibration level. They will see something in you, and even if they don't have the words, and even if they don't express it, and even if they don't even know what they're feeling, they will be uplifted on some level. They will be impacted by the energy that you have. And that's the deepest level of making impact. We keep working on our own selves, on our inner beauty.
Can I add something to that?
Of course.
So it's interesting, but I have a personal, I guess, guide, you could say, that I work with on my, my other things that's been helping me to grow. And what she says is that, like you said, when you have a certain level of vibrations, like when you have a certain, like, soul goodness, a lot of people are attracted to you. All of a sudden, people start flocking to you. You get, I don't know, you get this people that just want to talk to you on the streets. They contact you through friends, or they ask for some kind of advice. They want you to be going with them somewhere. It's actually, it's very true. And that's what like the woman that I've been working with, she keeps saying, and she says that it just happens. She's like, and don't be afraid, because you will not lose your goodness the more people are around you. Because some people, they say, oh, there are too many people and some of them are not on the same vibration. How could I? No, it's like, if you know yourself, your boundaries, and what you have, then you will never lose that. It will always be yours. You just share the light, right? Create more light. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Exactly. And we keep ourselves sane and true and honest when we keep coming to a place of staying present and knowing that, like, there's nothing we have to go to, there's nothing we have to create, there's nothing we have to control. Then we end up having enough time to nurture ourselves and stay really present and grounded, because we have that time to integrate, because we
Yeah.
know that. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, just the other day, a few people asked me what I do. And I said, my job is learning to be instead of do. They probably thought I was crazy, but that's what I said.
Well, it's very powerful, and it's an amazing message to share with others, whether they get it or not right now. Yeah. Yeah. Someone told me this week, and it's really, really powerful. It's like, we've been so trained to think like there's something wrong with us, there's something wrong with the world, there's something wrong, like we have to change ourselves, we have to change the world, we have to, like, and again, like, even me, it's something I'm always working on, like, where there's levels of like, oh my gosh, I have to help others, I have to inspire. And like, the deepest thing, the gift we can give to the world is to emanate wholeness, is to like get into a place where it's like, I am whole, I am worthy, I am loved, like this moment is complete. And then to even think about that as the world, like, the world is a beautiful place, the world has so much opportunity, like this moment is beautiful, this moment is complete, this moment has tons of love and tons of beauty into it. And like, by more and more of us just like allowing for that and being in that and accepting that, like, it helps more, like it allows for more of that. Like, I believe that all that's left for the world is for people to stop and believe that everything that we need and we're looking for is right here in this moment. And so it's a big gift for all of us to work on that. It's hard work. The funny thing is that what we really need to do is so pleasurable and so beautiful and really so easy, and just so, it's like a vacation, but yet it's like somehow it's so hard for us to like believe that we could step out of slavery, that like it's okay. Not only is it okay, it's like a gift to the world, but it's like, it's so hard for us to step out of our Egypts, and all the lies and all the distraction and all the training that we've had. Anyone want to comment on that? Okay, let's do one more pasuk. So Mary, please, 13.
I will try to smuggle you into Egypt in a crate, but if they discover you anyway, if you would, say that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me for your sake. They will try to carry my favor by giving me gifts in order to bribe me into letting one of them marry you. In this way, through you, my life will be spared.
So this is a very big pasuk, and something that when you read it on just a basic level could be really confusing. That, Avram, see, remember what I said, that it was a gift that he was able to see her from an Egyptian perspective because he was able to be proactive and come up with a plan. So as soon as he saw her booty, it's like, oh my gosh, we really need to make a plan. So he said, say that you are my sister. But okay, but first of all, basically say that you're my sister so that they'll take you. So he's okay with them taking her. Like, what kind of respect, what kind of husband is like that to say you're my sister, so my life will be spared? I mean, you'll be raped, you'll be kidnapped, you know, all kinds of things will happen to you, but at least my life will be spared. And not only that, I'll benefit from that because I'm your brother. They're going to give me all this wealth, so it'll be good for me. It's like something seems off here, right? Is that our Abraham? You know, you wanted to say something, Dina?
No, sorry, I was just reading the last one. Through you, my life will be spared. I think that's where the key is.
Ooh, yes, that's where the key is. So it's very. This is very. There's quite a few messages here. The first one I'm going to say is a side thing, but it's about this. Is that just a very powerful message that. Remember Egypt, I was saying, it represents when we're constricted, when we're struggling, when we're going through a hard time. So Avram and Sarah are a couple. They're in a marriage. So this is just something the Torah is hinting to, a very profound marriage tool. That sometimes our marriage is like a time of Israel, when we're feeling good, we're feeling loved, we're feeling connected, everything's going well. And some, like all marriages, and just like our own individual journey, sometimes our marriage gets rocky and it feels constricted again, and it feels confusing, and we feel disconnected, and we feel upset at each other. And what the Torah is saying is, when you're in a space of Egypt in your relationship, go to a sister and brother relationship. What does that mean? That, you know, a husband and wife a sister and brother relationship is blood connected. And no matter what, you could fight, you could yell, you could scream. Actually, it's not no matter what. Unfortunately, a lot of times brothers and sisters end up in fights and don't talk to each other and don't love each other anymore. And that happens a lot of times. But no matter what, no matter how far you go from each other, you are connected. There's an inherent connectedness. You come from the same parents. You have the same genes. You're a family. A husband and wife, on the other hand, it's a more intense, passionate relationship. But it's not, you know, the bond is your commitment and it's your marriage, but it's not, you don't have, you know, you could walk away sadly from each other, get divorced, and then that's it. It's like, there's nothing that keeps you bonded. So it's just, the Torah is saying that when you're in a struggling situation, go to a sister and brother relationship. What does that mean? That stop trying so hard to like connect and keep the romance alive and like be connected and be passionate. Let it sit. Let it go. Be in this space. Know that it's going to be okay. Know that there's something for it, but know that you're inherently connected. Your brother, your sisters, your brother and sister, your soul. You're on a deeper level. Even there's externally you're fighting and you're disagreeing and you don't get each other, but on a soul level, you know, especially all of us Jews, we're all have the same DNA. We're all soul connected. So know that you'll get through this, and your connection is deeper than the passion, the romance, the connection. Like, just trust in the relationship. So just a nice marriage message here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's this thing about that he's saying, say that you're my sister so that I can be protected and I'm going to gain wealth from you. And this is a powerful thing you could tell your husbands, that basically Abraham knew and that Sarah was actually on a higher level spiritually than him. He had so much faith in her and trusted her so much and knew that her level was like, she has feminine energy, which is deep faith and deep connection. And he trusted her so much that he said, if she goes and if they take her, nothing is going to happen to her because she is on such a high level. Like, her faith and the level that she is and her connection to God is so high that she is going to be protected. Nothing's going to happen. I know that I don't have to worry about her, but I do feel that I have to worry about me. So if she says she's my sister, she's going to be protected. I have no doubt God's going to protect her. And through her merit and through her high level and through her faith, I'm going to end up getting wealth, and nothing bad is going to happen to me, and I'm going to benefit. Dina, hey, can you just mute, please?
Oh, sorry.
No problem. So what is this saying is that basically it's a few things that just on a simple level, like a husband, really needs to like work on trusting their wife. That a lot of times, like later on, we're going to see Avram and Sarah disagree with something, and Hashem comes and tells Avram, trust your wife, listen to your wife. And there's a certain intuition, feminine faith and feminine intuition that women are blessed with. And we have a deeper understanding of the emotional world and the spiritual world and the inner understandings of things. And in a very male dominating world, we've lived very much where like the men got it, we have it figured out. And it's like, it's going to lower our male ego to like slow down and like take our wife into consideration. But what it's saying here is just like women have this natural faith and this natural intuition, and it's important to like slow down and to take that inner understanding of things into consideration. But not only that Abraham will be blessed through Sarah's intuition and bless and get wealth through her faith. So it's saying, first of all, from a husband that, he will be blessed by really honoring and respecting and listening to the woman's natural intuition. But on a deeper level, let's take a husband and wife out. It's saying even for all of us, like we could go into masculine energy and we could go into feminine energy because we both have both. Masculine energy is like, I need to control. I need to like figure out how I'm going to make money, and I need to make sure I'm a success, and I need to figure out this problem, and I need to work it all out. And what this is saying is that feminine energy is more like, I'm going to trust, everything's going to be okay. I'm just going to, ask God to help me. I'm going to have faith. It's going to be okay. It's like surrendering. It's being willing to receive. It's know that we're worthy. And the Torah is saying such a profound, deep message here. It's saying that like, trust your feminine energy, trust your faith, trust your intuition, trust your soul telling you that it's going to be okay and God's going to provide and everything's going to be okay. And Abraham got wealth from it. You will get wealth from it. You will be taken care of. You will have everything you need. You will be blessed. But you have to be willing to have that faith and courage and trust your body, trust your soul, trust your higher intuition, even though it seems scary. And even though logically, externally, physically, from an external standpoint, it makes no sense. And it's not anything the world is saying. From an external place, Abraham, Sarah saying that she is his sister and being taken and raped by Paro made no sense. It seemed like the craziest plan ever. But yet they were going into more faith and more trust and more of a spiritual understanding. And ultimately they were blessed. So this is some of the messages.
Never would
I have a
have figured that out.
Yeah, sorry. Khani, 1 second. Mary, what did you say?
No, I said I never would have figured that out from reading that passage.
I know. This is like some deep Kabbalah.
I just was wondering, how is it okay to lie?
You're allowed to lie for peace and you're allowed to lie for two things. You're allowed to lie for saving your life, and you're allowed to lie actually for peace. The Torah says that if you're going to lie and it's going to even cause like marital issues or major disagreement or make someone hate you or whatever, like the only way you're allowed to lie is for peace and for saving your life.
So, I mean, if someone cheated on someone, they're allowed to lie and say, I didn't?
No, because that's not it. In the short run, maybe it will keep your relationship alive, but actually in the long run, if you keep holding secrets like that, you're actually destroying your relationship. So in that case,
what type of things how do you decide if it's going to keep the peace in the long run or not if you lie?
Well, you have to be honest with yourself, because it's not about like a short run, quick fix, like let me lie so that, my spouse is not angry with me. We're talking about like deep, true, peace in the home. If someone's lying and doing something that's destructive, that's not providing more peace.
So is it like if someone asks you who you vote for and they're going to hate you, you should lie
Yes.
and say you didn't vote for that person?
No, you could. I guess that's an interesting question. I guess maybe. I think better is to say I really don't feel comfortable talking about it, like the conclusion that you came to. But like an example that the Torah gives is like, if there's a bride and she's getting married and she's really looks ugly, like you have to tell her she looks beautiful anyways. Because like it's her wedding day and like you want her to feel good about herself. So like you're allowed to lie. Look, we're talking about a soul level. We're talking about intuition and honesty. Like within the lie, you have to be honest with yourself. And you have to say, is this a lie that God would want, that will bring ultimate more peace and more goodness to the world or not? Like, it's not an excuse to lie and make things up that are going to cause ultimately more destruction behind the scenes. Does that make sense, Connie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little confusing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not an excuse to lie. It just, on a very basic level, forget even the peace. Like if you need a lie to save your life, of course you lie to save your life. Like even in Judaism, like if you're saving a life, that comes first before anything. Like, I keep Shabbat, so I don't like on a very observant way.
That makes sense. But to keep the peace is tricky because, it's good to speak your truth and be honest, even if someone else is furious. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's a little confusing.
Yeah, but in that case, if you would have lied, it wouldn't have created more peace with your relationship because then there's lies in the relationship and then you wouldn't have resolved and worked it through. Like if she's not going to like you, judge you because you have a different truth than her, that's not going to provide more peace. More peace is to saying the truth.
Right. Because I guess it's just confusing of when it would be peace. Like example of when it would be peace if it's not life and death. Like what's an example of when it's good to lie for actual
I'm
peace?
just thinking like let's say someone tells you something very bad about your husband, right? And is like, Shmuel's such an idiot and I hate him and whatever. And then God forbid. And then Shmuel comes to you and says, did this person say anything bad about me? You're allowed to say no, because if you know that it will only cause Shmuel pain and it won't cause, and that there's absolutely no only damage, no good, you're allowed to say no.
So if someone says, did this person talk to you about me? You can say no, even if they did.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's very good to know.
But
I know.
I always feel stuck in those situations.
So
I know.
Can I say something? Hi.
Sure. Hi, Jane.
Hi. So I think that is true, that it is better to tell the truth. And yeah, sometimes we need to, not always, but I think it's also the way we say the truth, because you can tell the truth, but make it a way so that people don't feel angry or hurt. I think a lot of it is just how we say the things.
Yeah.
If someone says something about your husband and would hurt your husband, but maybe your husband has an idea that person was talking about him, you can say, you know what? He did mention to me something and it really wasn't nice. I don't understand why he would say that. So you're not telling him what exactly they said, but you're also sympathetic. You're not, so that, because if you tell him no, and your husband has an idea that they're saying something, now he's just going to feel even, like you're not taking him seriously, or if there's more things down the road that come up, I think that in situations,
right,
to be able to talk, and like Hani with your friend, to be able to help her, why does she feel this way? Why is it such a difficult thing that, that we can't talk about it? Or maybe it's just something we have to agree to disagree about. But,
Exactly. So exactly. Yeah. True.
I agree with you, Julian. It's a very good point. And you know, we all have to, in order to like take these things from the Torah and apply it, we have to be wise, use it with wisdom. We
Yeah,
can't
and you
take these, it's not about excuses and be like, oh, look, I just got to pass. It's like the Torah is communicating to people, assuming they're going to use it with wisdom, with intuition, with faith, with spirituality, with their soul. It's, you have to be really deep and really honest with yourself.
And that can be really hard.
So maybe until we figure that out, we should just keep saying the truth. How about that? Unless we're saving our life.
I have to go, Nahama. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We'll
See
see
you
you next week.
I have to go to Nahama.
Bye.
Thank you. I
You're
really
welcome.
enjoyed it.
I'm so glad.
Okay.
See you.
right. See
Have
you.
a good week.
You too.
Bye, Khani. Bye, Dina.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Nahama. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Vitamin